Just like having the right information is necessary to make solid hiring and lending decisions, being engaged in our community is important. DataFax is proud to support the positives and be a presenting sponsor of the Spark.
State Systems is focused on protecting life and property. As a local, privately owned company, our foundation was built on providing all businesses with complete fire and security protection and infrastructure cabling. State Systems is proud to be a part of the Mid-South community and a presenting sponsor of the Spark.
Lipscomb and Pitts Insurance has been serving the Mid-South since 1954. We've always focused on supporting our community and believed in promoting the positives, encouraging engagement, and leading by example. Lipscomb and Pitts is proud to be a presenting sponsor of the Spark.
Additional funding provided by Christian Brothers University and Baptist Memorial Healthcare. Get better with Baptist.
This month on The Spark, our theme touches on cleanups and sustainability. We'll learn more about an organization protecting the Wolf River with a focus on land and water conservation, education, and outdoor recreation. We'll take a look at a locally owned and operated ServiceMaster franchise helping businesses and homeowners recover and be restored after a disaster. And we'll discuss how a nonprofit is conducting large sweeps and neighborhood cleanups with the mission of engaging citizens to make Memphis clean and green. Have you ever been excited by a new idea? Inspired by watching someone lead by example? When we talk about creating change, we start by sharing the stories of everyday heroes who are making a difference in their own way, so we can learn and do the same. This truth is the power behind this show, which is focused on business and community leaders that are leading by example to give back, fuel change, and create new opportunities for the Mid-South. I'm Jeremy Park, and this is The Spark. Founded in 1985, dedicated to the protection and enhancement of the Wolf River watershed, I'm here with the Executive Director of the Wolf River Conservancy, Keith Cole.
Thank you.
Before we talk about your efforts with the Conservancy, let's talk about water. And Memphis in the Mid-South is famous for its clean, inexpensive water supply. Why is that so important?
Well, Jeremy, it goes back to geography. Memphis in the Mid-South, we sit above an aquifer system that we call the Memphis Sand Aquifer. And that Memphis Sand Aquifer, if you can just imagine when it rains, the floodplains, and we protect floodplains primarily, and the recharge areas for our aquifer, most of them are located in Fayette County. So if you can just imagine out in Fayette County when the floodplains flood, as they should, those waters filter through those floodplains, and those floodplains act as a giant leafy sponge, if you will, to help filter our water for us.
So all that water is basically being filtered down naturally through sand and rock, so by the time we go to draw it out, all of a sudden now it's clean and it's inexpensive because we don't have to purify it, right?
That's right, because some communities, most communities get their water from a reservoir system, a lake, if you will.
And one of the things really that, it puts it in perspective is the fact that many states are fighting over water supply.
Right.
Many areas and cities are under water shortages
Right.
desperately. So I think it's one of those things that we take it for granted sometimes, but it really is an extremely important resource for our community.
And we cannot take it for granted. You don't have to look very far. The state of California right now is under an entire state is under a drought condition. It's estimated that worldwide that 750 million people don't have access to clean drinking water.
Wow.
So I'm fond of saying to people the work that we've done over the past almost 30 years is important, but I think our greatest work is ahead of us in helping to protect our water supply.
And so obviously that's a big piece of this, but also too you do education, policy, volunteerism, and
Right.
activation. Give us a lay of the land, so to speak, on your different initiatives.
Well, environmental education's always been important to the Conservancy. It's even more important now. Richard Louv, in his book, The Last Child in the Woods, estimated that since 1990, young people, children, get outside less and less and less. And why that's important, if you're not outside enjoying nature, you lose an appreciation for it. So the first step we do with children is getting them outside to enjoy it.
Absolutely. Well, and also too, I've got to believe that ties back into when you see it and all of a sudden you're involved in it, your want and desire to protect it becomes even more important.
Agreed. You have to begin with that appreciation and understand why it's important to protect it, and getting people outside is a good first step.
Talk about policy.
Policy, well, we support all initiatives that promote sustainability. Now, as a 501c3, we do that more through working through our volunteers and our members, not so much directly with legislation.
Gotcha. So talking about volunteer, that's a great segue in. Let's go ahead and show, because volunteerism activation is a huge piece of what you do, and we'll talk afterward on taking canoe trips and all sorts of fun activities to get people involved in enjoying nature. But let's show some volunteers out there getting involved, getting their hands dirty a little bit with the Wolf River Conservancy.
Let's do that. Thank you.
Land throughout the floodplain is protected by the Wolf River Conservancy with the aim of providing natural habitats and connecting people to the river through education and recreation. One of the programs that the Conservancy has is for its members, it does provide guided paddle trips down sections of the Wolf River. They're usually about a full day paddle from 9 in the morning until about 3 in the afternoon. The FedEx Corporation has probably about 24 volunteers that have been working to build a ramp to improve river access to the river. So the efforts that they're doing today is going to make access to the river at Germantown Road a whole lot safer, especially for those kids. If you love the outdoors and you don't want to do a lot of traveling, or you don't have time, or you think that you can't, come join us at the Conservancy. We're out here the first Saturday of every month at least.
So that gives us some fun perspective on getting your hands dirty, giving back, getting involved with Wolf River Conservancy, but volunteer activation, enjoying nature, so many different nuances, and that's obviously a huge part of what you do. Talk about volunteer efforts and things like the tree plantings and litter pickups and things along those lines for volunteers.
Right. Jeremy, we find that people want to give back to the community, and people really enjoy giving back to the community by getting outside, getting their hands dirty. We've got a variety of ways that happens. Tree plantings, as you mentioned, is a good way. We do an annual tree planting that we've done at Shelby Farms Park for several years. Last year we planted 7,000 trees in one day with the help of 300 volunteers. We're planning something even better for next year. But we do things like litter pickups and privet pools on our greenway. So we complement the city's work on the greenway system through volunteer efforts.
One of the things I know is you have trek leaders, the guides that will actually take groups down the river and point out different species. Talk about your tours.
Right. Well, that's another volunteer opportunity for someone. Today we have over 40 volunteer river guides that help us 12 months out of the year take people down different sections of the river. Our river guides receive a training, but they come from a very interesting walk of life. Various walks of life. We have a retired policeman, retired firefighters, we have retired college professors, we have young professionals, men and women, and they devote a good amount of their time ensuring that people get down the different sections of the Wolf and the Ghost River in a safe, secure manner.
And talking about the Ghost River, that was a huge success for you, right?
It was. For many people, it's one of our most significant activities that we've ever done. Saving the Ghost River in 1995, we helped protect 4,000 acres. It's now the Ghost River State Natural Area. And in doing that, we also protected that stretch of water from LaGrange to Moscow, which is generally referred to as the Ghost River section of the Wolf River. And I remind people, because so many people have been down that section of the river and they're always surprised how beautiful it is, I remind them when they have a hard time understanding what land conservation is, to understanding that if there hadn't been a Wolf River Conservancy in 1995, you wouldn't have the Ghost River section today.
And you also wouldn't have Ghost River beer.
You wouldn't have Ghost River beer either. That's right. And our good friends at Ghost River Beer named their beer after us because they understand the importance of clean drinking water, so we appreciate them.
Absolutely love it. It all ties together. The last piece of this to me is you also have the Wolf River Greenway. Talk a lot about that.
The Wolf River Greenway has long been part of the vision of the Conservancy. The idea of building a greenway system from all the way from downtown Memphis, following the meanders of the Wolf River through the city of Memphis, connecting to where we currently have 2.7 miles open out in East Memphis at Walnut Grove Road, and it connects to the Germantown Greenway. So again, increasing the awareness of the Wolf River through increasing the access, if you will, by building this greenway system. We also anticipate, as we build out the greenway, to increase access points to the Wolf River along the way too, because we know there's a great desire and demand for that.
Absolutely. And you are membership driven, correct?
We are membership driven. There's a nominal fee. We encourage people to join to show their support for the work that we do.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a great thing. You can take your coworkers, your family, friends, and take the guided tours. You can obviously get your hands dirty and go out there and plant trees and do the trash pickups. Absolutely love everything you're doing to not only conserve, but also to enhance the Wolf River, and the Wolf River Conservancy is doing a fabulous job, so thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeremy. We appreciate it.
Founded in 2008, their mission is very simple, and I absolutely love it, is to engage every citizen in Memphis and Shelby County in keeping Memphis clean and green. I'm here with the Executive Director for Clean Memphis, Janet Boscarino, and very organic formation in terms of bringing Clean Memphis to life. Talk about forming Clean Memphis.
Okay. I was in business development for 20 years or so, and as I traveled and came back to Memphis, I noticed that it seemed more littered over the last 10 years compared to other cities I was visiting. About the same time, the Commercial Appeal had an article talking about our difficulty in attracting people to move to Memphis at times, and us losing populations to other cities like Atlanta, Charlotte, and Nashville. So my neighbor and I were having this discussion, and he had noticed the same thing too, and we decided that we could either complain, move, or try to do something about it. So he, Darren Hillis, and Mark Lovell and I all sort of came together, and Clean Memphis was born out of that just desire to try to make a difference.
See, I love that. Everyday citizens saying, you know what, let's do it, take the initiative,
Right.
and bring it to life.
Exactly.
So big part is obviously engagement, but you're focused on 3 different areas. One is community collaborations, everything from policy, blight control, empowering neighborhoods, education, and then also 2, these high profile sweeps and cleanups.
Right.
Let's take them in different pieces. Talk about the community collaborations.
Okay, so when we first started, we found that there were maybe 2 or 3 community-based partnerships that were already formed and meeting. And we had found that that was a model in some other cities that they were using, a real grassroots approach to addressing cleanup and blight initiatives. So we began to work alongside those partnerships, and those expanded to now, I believe there are 11 partnerships around the city that meet once a month. They address crime issues, blight issues, cleanup issues, anything like that related to the property values, safety, and security of their neighborhood. So that's a wonderful strategy. One of the things we promote is accountability, and that if you see something that needs to be done, it's probably you that needs to take that on to do it.
And then you obviously give them the resources. You're pulling
Absolutely.
together businesses that are in the neighborhoods. You're helping with policy control
Absolutely.
and making sure that code enforcement and everything gets done, correct?
Right, it ties that back to the broken window theory. So if there are blighted properties in your community, that is going to reduce your property values, it attracts crime, all of these negative components that we don't need. We really need to put our best face forward as a city so that we can attract businesses and attract residents, so that our property values are in place and we're presenting ourselves as a safe and clean city.
And that's the one thing I think that it really is important is you're not only focusing on the sustainability, there's environmental obviously benefits, but 2 is this really does help curb crime.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's no question, in a lot of the neighborhoods that we work with, as I said, if there's a vacant property there, there's either illegal drug sales going on, the grass is 4 or 5 feet tall, they may be storing stolen goods in those properties, various kinds of things that go on that are all going to be a negative effect. And not only that, but there are kids walking by those properties on their way to school. There are all kinds of negative psychological effects for those kids as well. So it's very important we address these issues.
Well, that's where you get to give them the power to take control and get it
Absolutely.
solved. So transition that over into a little bit of a teaser, if you will, because I know we're going to show a fun video, but on the work you're doing in education.
So what we've decided is we can't clean our way out of this issue either. We really have to engage residents, engage young people, and raise a generation of people who really understand how important it is to have a clean and healthy and safe city. So we have 2 full-time teachers on staff now that work directly in schools to provide environmental education. And we have 2 broader education components that we can talk about after the break.
I'm about to say, we'll take this as a perfect chance to show us education in action with Clean Memphis.
My name is Renetta Sanders, and I'm the proud principal of Carnes Optional School. Carnes is a unique school because we are an environmental science-based school. We teach our students not only core academic skills, but also environmental science and STEM-related activities as well. Well, we have been working with Clean Memphis for about the last 3 years, and they have been assisting us with training and supporting our students in environmental science resources. They have helped us to build a community garden. We also have a garden in the back of our school they have assisted us with. They work with our scholars in the classroom to provide training on environmental related issues. Well, Clean Memphis gives us an opportunity to bring what we're learning from the books into real life.
That gives us some fun perspective on education in action, Clean Memphis. You have 2 primary areas. One is with TDOT and a grant, and also
Correct.
2, you have the Sustainable Schools Challenge.
Correct.
And give us an idea, one, of the relationship with TDOT.
Okay, great. So one of the things that with TDOT is focusing on the non-CONA corridor. If you've seen the pictures or been involved with any of the cleanups on McKellar Lake, you'll see sort of the aftermath of all the trash and debris that is going down on neighborhoods along the non-CONA corridor. That ends up washing down the storm drain and ends up in McKellar, the Mississippi, and ultimately the Gulf of Mexico. So the grant with TDOT is to focus on engaging schools, students, and neighborhood groups along the non-Conneaut corridor, provide the watershed education, and get them out doing organized cleanup projects to remove the litter before it enters the watershed. So that's primary. That's a 3-year grant that we're in. We have a full-time teacher on staff to address that issue.
And then talk about the Sustainable Schools Challenge.
I'm really excited about the Sustainable Schools Challenge. It's sort of like a Project Green Fork for schools. So it aligns with the federal program, but it's a local certification. We have a local sustainability certifying body that's MLGW, BioWorks, Coca-Cola, just different corporate entities that are involved in sustainability that will recognize schools when they achieve the different metrics with the Sustainable Schools Challenge. It has to do with energy conservation, water conservation, recycling in schools, a health and wellness component, and then environmental education in general. It's really to promote environmental literacy and to fundamentally change the way students and teachers are behaving sustainably in their schools.
So you're building it into the value system,
Absolutely.
but you are also building this into the curriculum too, correct?
Absolutely, yes. We have another teacher on staff that was a 7th grade and 8th grade science teacher that works directly in the schools that are involved in the pilot as well. So we want them to push the rigor of STEM and have all the science and social studies standards tied into that, but it's all about action daily and integrating it into their daily life.
So we've talked about collaboration, we've talked about education. The last piece of this is high-profile sweeps, so Aerotropolis, the downtown areas, but you're doing these huge high-profile sweeps, and also, too, empowering neighborhoods, employees, companies to do high-profile cleanups, too.
Absolutely. So with the sweeps, that was a strategy that a lot of other cities were using, and that's just routine cleanups in the same areas so that if there's a presence of litter, more people are more likely to litter. So we have inmate crews and court-ordered workers out 6 days a week doing cleanup projects in the airport area and the medical center in downtown. We also work with corporate teams all the time doing organized service projects for them. It's a great team building activity for them, and they can address some of the cleanup issues they see every day when they're driving to work. We also love to pair them with schools, the corporate teams with schools, or with expanding the volunteer base for the community partnership folks, so they can work together on doing community-based projects as well.
When you look at the magnitude, I just think it's impressive. I mean, 270 sweeps a year alone, just in that one piece of your equation.
Yeah, just with the inmates and court-ordered workers, that doesn't include. We worked with over 7,000 students last year in 34 different schools, so there's a lot of activity going on, a lot of ways to plug in.
Well, I'll tell you what, the one thing you do is you make it extremely easy for anyone and everybody to help keep Memphis and Shelby County and this whole Mid-South region clean and green. So thank you very much for all of your efforts and for coming on the show and sharing.
Thank you.
Good job. Locally owned and operated, part of the ServiceMaster family. I'm here with the president of ServiceMaster Property Restoration, Charles Kiesel, and you specialize in a number of different areas. Property restoration, disaster recovery is a piece of that, but talk a little about the partnership and the tie-in with ServiceMaster and everything that you do with ServiceMaster Property Restoration.
Well, ServiceMaster Holding Company has a variety of service brands, and I have 2 licenses for their franchises, which is ServiceMaster Clean, which is residential care, carpet cleaning, upholstery, rugs, things of that nature, and then ServiceMaster Restore, which focuses on disaster restoration.
Gotcha. So it's commercial, it's residential, everything in between, right?
Absolutely.
And so on your end, I know working with ServiceMaster, there are different numbers. There's 866 Recover, 901 Respond locally. 866 Recover is more national, but these are free programs that companies can sign up for, and you basically go out there and do a pre-assessment, so you figure out where the difficulty areas are, might be like the server room or different things like that. So if a disaster does happen, 1, they're on a priority list, so you respond quickly, but also 2, you know where the hot spots are. Walk us through kind of that plan for ServiceMaster and also the 866 Recover and 901 Respond.
Absolutely. So the 866 Recover vanity numbers, the phone number that you would call to their national hotline, is a platform mostly for national or regional accounts. And then our local number, 901 Respond, is for businesses here in the Mid-South region. And for any of those companies involved in either program, we'll go out and we'll do an assessment for that facility and just do a quick walk through, find out what the critical areas of need are, server rooms, raised floors, just, if it's a highly dense area and we have a water damage or fire and we have to do a pack out, how much manpower is going to be associated with working in that environment. And certain environments have hazardous conditions that we need to be aware of before we come on site. Gotcha. Security concerns or access controls, And so it just makes that whole contingency planning a lot easier when we do a pre-assessment. And then, of course, when a catastrophe or regional event occurs, such as this previous winter, we had the polar vortex, then when you're really in need, those customers are priority, and they kind of jump to the head of the list, and we're able to really serve them best.
I know that on your end, when you talk about flood damage, fire damage, mold remediation, one of the things that you do a very good job with your team, that it's that care, that compassion. So you really walk them through all the different steps so that as you're going through and you're starting the process of getting their home or getting their office back to working order, you're really kind of holding their hand along the way. Talk about just the personal side, the compassion, the empathy that goes along with the work you do.
Absolutely. That's more so on the residential side, because homeowners really have more interest in, for their own property, and so become more emotionally attached to, their belongings. That's their livelihood. So we give them a recovery guide, and our technicians will walk them through the recovery guide and say, this is what typically could happen in your situation. We're going to mark off the things that we see here in your scope of work that we may have to perform. So we have to remove a baseboard or vent a wall, to get it dry. The customer's not feeling like we're tearing up their home. They understand that we have to do this, prevent mold or some kind of secondary damage.
Gotcha. I know that we're going to talk after the work about your philanthropic efforts and your community engagement, which is huge. That's the part I love the most. But let's go ahead and take a quick look, because one of the things that you've done is you've hired somebody from SERVS to be a part of your family. So let's take a quick look and use this as a teaser to then come back and talk more about your philanthropy.
My name is Tyler Hampton. I'm Executive Director at SERVS. SERVS is an agency that provides support services to people with disabilities all throughout Shelby County and Tipton County. We have employment services where we employ over 150 people. We have a career center, and in our career center we provide skills training, primarily soft skills. We try to help them understand what it means to work in the community. We also have, we work with the Department of Vocational Rehab. We provide assessments and job placement through the Department of Vocational Rehab. ServiceMaster is one of the organizations we've worked with in the community. And ServiceMaster has been very open and receptive to hiring people with disabilities.
So that gives us an idea of how you're bringing someone into your family, so to speak, with SERVS. And I think this is a really unique opportunity, giving someone, especially with SERVS, adults with disabilities, that's the work they do in the community, but you're empowering them, hiring them on, having a wage is extremely empowering to be able to have a job. Talk about, from your aspect though, the partnership with SERVS.
Well, we responded to an emergency incident that SERVS had. And while we were on site, there was an opportunity for me to really just learn a little bit more about their program, because they had some unique needs in actually just servicing their particular loss. And so once that was all said and done, my general manager and myself went to SERVS to find out a little bit more about who they are and how we could help. And then they introduced us to their family. And we interviewed a few potential employees, and we brought Mark on. And Mark really, he serves us, but he serves us in other ways that you can't really, put a monetary value.
Well, that's the thing is, you truly are a family, and so for him, you're taking him out, and you're making it fun, and whether it's the YMCA corporate games, all the way through and through, he's a part of your family.
Absolutely.
And so carry that forward. I think you and your family are extremely heavily involved in everything from Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. You yourself are on the board with Clean Memphis. Share with us a little of the perspective when you talk about Clean Memphis, not only corporately getting involved, but also too using things like their watershed model with Boy Scouts and your scouting troop.
Absolutely. So I've been on the board with Clean Memphis for a little over a year, and the more I get engaged with them, the more good I see come of all the different programs they had. And I was able to tap into their sustainability watershed model for my local Cub Scout group. And so those Cub Scouts were able to earn environmental electives because of that program. And,
nice.
the icing on the cake is that the instructor was an Eagle Scout.
There you go. So, okay, that's the personal side, but also too corporately. You've been involved in the cleanups. You've been involved in things like the big sweeps. What's your perspective on, in terms of a company's obligation and role in environmentalism, curbing crime, cleaning up our city, beautification efforts? What is your philosophy on just the hands-on getting involved?
I think we all have to do our own part in our own community, and I didn't realize until I was introduced to Clean Memphis that less than a mile away from our facility is a substation where the community, probably 5 different neighborhood associations, meet once a month to help clean up their neighborhoods, blight, graffiti, and we pitch in where we can, especially on our block. But we have engaged with some of our clients. Nike is one of our clients, and we have another ServiceMaster franchise. Go in efforts with them during the 30 days in April, and did a cleanup all around their whole facility. The Tuggle, Shelby Drive, Lamar sector, which is heavily littered.
Well, that's the part I love the most, is locally owned and operated, family oriented in terms of giving back and things with Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, but also too from a corporate perspective, hands-on and cleaning up our city and getting involved. So thank you very much for all you do and for coming on the show and sharing.
Thanks, Jeremy.
As you saw today, Memphis enjoys a distinct competitive advantage when it comes to our water supply. Experts in the field of water quality tout Memphis water as some of the most clean, clear, and odor-free water in the world. So while other cities face shortages, we're sitting on a globally desired source of relatively inexpensive and abundant clean water. It's critically important that we and organizations like Wolf River Conservancy protect our environment and natural resources. Taking ownership and having the civic pride to clean up our neighborhoods, fighting litter and blight like Clean Memphis and volunteers like Charles Kiesel goes beyond the aesthetics. Protecting our environment and having a cleaner city helps reduce crime, create safer streets, and serves as an economic driver attracting tourists and families to our community. It wasn't that long ago that Memphis was the 5-time winner of the nation's Cleanest City Award, and together we can reclaim that title. So thank you for watching The Spark. To learn more about each of the guests and to interact with your stories of others leading by example, visit thesparktv.org. We look forward to seeing you next month, and we hope that you'll join with us in creating a spark for the Mid-South.
Just like having the right information is necessary to make solid hiring and lending decisions, being engaged in our community is important. DataFax is proud to support the positives and be a presenting sponsor of The Spark.
State Systems is focused on protecting life and property. As a local, privately owned company, our foundation was built on providing all businesses with complete fire and security protection and infrastructure cabling. State Systems is proud to be a part of the Mid-South community and a presenting sponsor of The Spark.
Lipscomb and Pitts Insurance has been serving the Mid-South since 1954. We've always focused on supporting our community and believed in promoting the positives, encouraging engagement, and leading by example. Lipscomb and Pitts is proud to be a presenting sponsor of The Spark.